Welcome, everyone. We're so excited to group together and talk about healthcare marketing and legal stuff. Thank you so much, Laurie and team, for having me. I'm so excited. I'm Erin Gordon. I'm CEO of Fisher Agency. We do branding, marketing, and websites and we specialize in healthcare. So I'm going to kick us off with just going over who we are. And then I'll let Laurie introduce herself. Okay, so as I said, I am Erin Gordon. This is me with my partner, Mary Fisher. We won fastest 50 growing businesses in Jacksonville last year. And we have a team of 21 right now. Mary started the company 34 years ago, and we've won lots of awards. We specialize in healthcare. We've worked with all the major healthcare organizations in Jacksonville and in Florida. And this branding and websites is one of our favorite things to do. We love helping our customers to grow through lead generation and branding, and making sure that they have all the pieces so that they don't have to worry about anything with marketing. So I'm gonna turn over to Laurie and let her introduce herself now.
Thanks, Erin. So my name is Laurie Lee, and I am a business attorney. I've been practicing for 20 years, the past 9 of which I've focused solely on small businesses, which we define as 20 employees or less. And we have a specialty in service professionals. So with that being said, if you want to click on the slide, Erin, I'll show you who the professionals are. People are like, well, who are service professionals? So like you all, health and wellness professionals, design, marketing, financial, creatives, online educators, and other professionals like law firms and veterinarians, IT. So basically, it's people who are licensed, educated, regulated. They have a profession that they're doing, and they also happen to own the business that does their profession. So we help on the business side of things. And one more click for me, Erin. And this is what we do. So we are not litigators. We don't go into court. We do everything else. We do contracts, negotiate deals, structure businesses, help owners, help people buy businesses, sell businesses. And these are the different things that we have: entity structure, regulatory compliance. And I'll be talking about a lot of those other types of things today after Erin.
And I'm happy to say that Laurie is the lawyer that did our M&A. And it went very smooth. It's always a difficult thing to do, but she made it so much easier.
Thank you, Erin. It's a pleasure working with you.
So I'm going to go over the top 10 marketing trends for healthcare today. And so I have a lot of information that I've packed as tight as possible. And then Laurie's going to kick off with some legal advice for healthcare organizations. So what do you need to know this year? It starts here. We are huge believers in follow what works. So the first thing that we do when we go into any organization is we look at their website and their analytics to see what is trending and what is working, what's converting. And we make the best decisions based on analytics for businesses, so that we know, who their audience is. It's metrics that can be grown. So the first thing we do is we start with a website. And this year, the trends are huge changes to the market. Google came out and said that slow sites will be killed off in rankings. Any website with large amounts of crawl errors or broken links will be downranked. They updated how they're organizing and ranking sites based on URL structure. And we also said that we need to make sure websites are designed for mobile first. This means that long ago, we could optimize our sites for desktop and rank, and that is not true anymore. We have to design for mobile first, and Google is making your rankings based on whether your mobile site is optimized correctly. We also are taking down a lot of video from our sites and focusing on just animation because of the load speed issue, right? So a lot of changes have happened in Google Land this year, and that's what we do. We stay up to date with those things so you don't have to. So some of the things in search engine optimization land, this is organic people coming to you, which is the most cost-effective way that people can find your patients can find you. So we want to make sure your Google My Business and your website are optimized for search engine optimization. Google came out and really threw us for a loop and said that we need 1,200 words per page. And thank God AI came out, pretty quickly, because we were able to get massive amounts of copy created really quickly for our clients. We've also improved what's called schema and structured data. This is the code that goes on the site that tells Google what your site is and should be ranking for. And then other things are, we're adding FAQs to search queries. We're adding AI voice commands, touch response, horizontal scrolling, this way, not this way. And we're integrating Meta, Facebook Meta integrations. So lots of things are happening in my lands, and we're just all trying to keep up. So the first thing I'm going to mention is we believe in planning ahead, having a strong strategy, a roadmap, as you would say, to get where our goal is. And for us, that starts with branding. I'm a huge fan of having the right brand with the right voice, tone, value proposition, design strategy, and so many other things I'm sure that you haven't thought of for a while. So many times we're refreshing logos now that for businesses that have been in business for 50, 60 years. Don't feel bad that your brand needs a little bit of modernizing. We've done it ourselves just in the past 3 years. We've seen companies like Coca-Cola go through 13 rounds in the past 100 years of different modernizing their brands. So this is something that needs to be done and continue to evolve. We're seeing massive amounts of refreshing your websites, updating search listings weekly now, and continuous growth of social media. So I think that's where it starts, having a good roadmap and good branding. The next thing that we come in and do is we map a lead funnel to patients in order to make sure that at every stage we can market to the correct category of lead, patient, follow-up, and asking for those referrals. And because those referrals are the best types of clients, they already trust you when they come in. And then we integrate those steps into your patient portals and integrate marketing into the patient portal. Social media has made a huge evolution in the past year, almost to the point that I was like, can we even keep up? And thank goodness we have excellent people on our team that have really come alongside us and helped our clients grow even through the evolution of social media. Moving from Facebook to Meta has really changed a lot of things. And the biggest is video is like king right now. And I know it's so hard for doctors to take the time and like be authentic on social media because there's so many legalities, and I'm sure that Laurie can talk more about that kind of stuff with you. But really it is quality and authenticity over quantity. So even if you can do it once a month, make sure you have a strategy and are continuing to grow with your social media. So we're also seeing huge trends in customers coming to us through social media over any other forms of marketing. And that's a scary place to be if we don't have social media, right? So that's why we're really making a lot of effort into growing and evolving social media for healthcare.
Erin, can I jump in and ask you a question about that?
Absolutely.
So bear with me, we were kind of having a little conversation about this, but I see a lot of doctors on social that are doing some really funny videos. Yeah. Whether they're like doing dances or they're doing silly kind of things. What does that do for a doctor or their practice?
So really it makes people feel like they have a real relationship with them. And especially in a small business, that's so important to like grow your relationship if you want long-term patients. It also, they come in with like with more trust, and that's really what it is. And so it's almost like a warm referral that are these type of patients coming in.
So it makes people see them as human, and
Mhm.
relate to them. And it just, to me, I think it's brilliant. It's gives so much more exposure, you
Right.
know, because whatever they're posting about is interesting and it catches people's attention. And they're like, oh, well, who is this? They're a real person.
That's right.
And it
One of my favorite
develops the relationship.
is Dr. Julie here. She's here in Jacksonville, and she does such a good job at putting out content that is engaging. And you won't catch her doing a lot of dances, but you will catch her giving great tips for women and that are going through fertility issues. So, she's built a following of 10,000 people on each channel, and that goes a long way into making it so that she doesn't have to spend as much money in marketing because she has really put in the groundwork of growing social media. And some of these videos that she's making, will create strategy and we'll break them up. She'll create one video and we'll break them up into 3 to 5 videos. So it doesn't have to be an elaborate plan. Sometimes it is, just one a week.
And when we're talking doctors and patients and things, we're really just kind of streamlining how we refer to things. We know that there are people on this webinar that are in wellness businesses, other types of health businesses. So we're just using the doctor patient just to kind of streamline things. But we know you're here and it applies to you as well, right, Erin?
That's correct. So Dr. Julie is, she's actually an acupuncturist. Let's see here. Let's gonna go back. Yeah, she's an acupuncturist and she has a massage company. So, okay, so next I'm going to get into talking about the power of local marketing and why it's so important that we are taking more we're taking more time to work on local marketing. So I'm going to start with reviews. We recently had a franchise healthcare company come to us, and they only had 3 stars and hundreds of reviews, and they couldn't turn the corner. They were losing patients, by the hundreds per year because people were taking a look and seeing terrible reviews. It's just the nature of some healthcare that people don't understand what it costs. And so what we did was focused on we created a strategy to boost their reviews. And it turned out that that's all they really needed. They didn't have to be, making billboards anymore. All they needed to do was fix their reviews and keep good reviews rolling in. So I want to stress how important reviews are, and bad reviews kill businesses every day. So make sure that you are taking a look at your Google My Business, Facebook, Health Grades, Vital, and Yelp, and making sure that you are getting those good reviews. And sometimes it's just you haven't outlined a great strategy for creating reviews. Here are my top search listings that you should be on. Google My Business, Bing, Apple, Yelp, Yellow Pages, Manta, Nextdoor app, Yahoo, TripAdvisor, Ask.com, and DuckDuckGo. If you're not on all of these, make sure that you tell someone that you need to get them done. So I want to talk about Google Ads. It's a necessary evil. It is one of the more expensive forms of advertising, but it's also one of the most effective in healthcare, because if people can't find you over their competition, then you're losing out on lots and lots of patients. So there are 7 forms of Google. There's actually 8 forms of Google advertising, but the 8th one is not for this industry. So this is what's called Google Guaranteed, and they do not allow healthcare yet. Hopefully one day. This is Google Search Ads, and this is Google Maps ads. Then there's display ads, shopping ads, app ads, and grant ads. So if you're a nonprofit healthcare, then you can get up to $10,000 from Google each month for advertising. There's a huge impact on some of our clients. So here are my next big trends that I would like to go over is automation. I'm a huge fan of making small businesses work smarter and not harder. So what we do is part of the lead funnel. We are outlining and creating automated campaigns to go out at every stage so that you can convert more clients into our leads into patients, and then make those patients your advocates for your business. So this is a huge impact on businesses, because then you don't have to have a full-time marketing person sitting there sending out hundreds of emails a day. And here are some of the trends that we're going to see more of in the next year. So AI is evolving so fast. In fact, I just got off a webinar earlier this week that said AI is the new industrial revolution. We're going to see technology advance faster and bigger quantity than ever before in the next year. We're already seeing things come out where we're actually tapping in for, everybody's using ChatGPT for content, but did you know we can use it for graphic design? Did you know that we can use it for video? We can actually create a replica of me and type in what we want it to say, and it will create a video for me. So that's a huge impact, especially for doctors that don't want to be in front of the camera all the time. I actually just saw a senator on TikTok doing that yesterday. Very interesting. And then we're seeing so many other AI opportunities, but something that we're rapidly getting into is augmented reality advertising. I'm a huge fan. I think it's going to be huge one day. I cannot wait to sit around a table like I'm in the Matrix and do my conference meetings. Metaverse is going to make such an impact in how we sell. There's going to be like virtual stores and virtual healthcare where you can like sit down with a doctor and talk face to face through virtual reality. So you want to make sure that your business is trending upwards on these type of marketing and technology. So I'm a huge believer in, if you're going to spend money, make sure you can convert at a higher rate. And that starts with the website. I want to make sure that when we come into any client that we're not losing sales by sending them to a place that is not optimized to convert at a higher rate. And then I'm a huge fan of being everywhere. You know, maybe it's not spending money everywhere, but it's making sure that if you are going to have social media, that you're on on each platform registered so that people can find you. Those are great backlinks. And we're always trending upwards, even if it's a little bit at a time. So I'm also a huge fan of leveraging local and creating strategic partnerships. One of my favorites is the Jacksonville Humane Society. We're a partner with them, and for healthcare, there is the Chamber Healthcare Council. There's so many amazing ways to get involved with community, and these partnerships help us sell bigger deals. They help advertise through its cross partnerships. And they also bring in more clients, because it's a really amazing backlink for you and your SEO. And then it also brings in extra traffic. So I'm a huge fan of finding the strategic partner that aligns with your business. And that brings me to what we've seen the most this year is trademarking war. So in our world, branding is everything, because you can have the best business in the world, but if your brand sucks, then you're just losing patients and you're losing sales. But what we've seen more than ever is, because the world in 2020 became almost one world digitally, that more of our clients are getting in trademark wars. And the average cost of that being $50,000 to rebrand, not to mention the the legal fees that are assigned with that to go to court and figure that out. But also we're seeing a huge jump in 2020. 836,000 trademarks were registered, which is a 300,000 increase from 2003. So what's happening is that more people are trademarking. There's less availability of trademarks available, and it's harder to trademark your business. So I want to say to everyone, if you're not trademarked, make sure you do it now and start working towards that. So I will, please reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm always happy to help any business that is looking to grow. We have lots of free tools at fisheragency.com/tools. And I will turn it over to Laurie to talk more about legal healthcare.
Thank you, Erin. I'm going to pick up right where Erin left off and talk a little bit about trademarks. So as I share my screen here, let's just kind of revamp what Erin said. And I think what I'm hearing is that there's a lot of technical thing going on marketing. And, you know, unless you've got the ability to keep up with that part of the technical aspect, you know, the software and the technology of it, you know, it's really important that you do, you know, use an expert. I think we're all experts in our fields, and it's very important that we recognize how difficult it is to keep up with everything on marketing. So with that said, another difficult topic. And, you know, if just a reminder, if you need to blow up the screen, if you hover between the PowerPoint and our faces, you can kind of enlarge the faces or enlarge the PowerPoint as appropriate. So here on the legal, I am going to spend most of the time on trademarks because that does relate to what Erin was speaking to. But I do want to just show you, you know, the overall infrastructure of a small business on the legal side. It tends to be that, you know, you as small business owners, and I completely understand this, you know, legal gets a little overwhelming because there's just so much of it, like marketing, there's just so much of it. And you just want to like boil it down for me, tell me what I need to know. Don't make me research everything because I don't have the time or the interest to do that. So that's what we've done here. We've just kind of boiled it down for you and said, look, these are the areas where you need to keep your eye on legal. Starting at the top, of course, with entity structure, it's what type of entity you have, corporation, LLC, how's it set up, how's it maintained, you know, your regulatory compliance, not only on the professional side, but on the business side. There's two separate rules, one for your profession and one for all businesses. And then external relationships would be with your clients, patients, whatever you call them. How do you manage that? What kind of, whether you have to have consents to treat, whether it's a service agreement, whatever it might be. Those are client relationships. Vendors are people that, you know, businesses that you hire to provide services to your business. And then inside the internal relationships are your workers, your employees and independent contractors. And if you have multiple owners, the relationships between the owners. And then for the rest of the webinar today, I want to talk a little bit about intellectual property. Obviously, copyrights are very important, especially with marketing. I will say here before I jump into trademarks, and that is, you know, we've had a lot of clients dip themselves into some legal trouble, not really realizing what they're doing by violating some copyrights online. And this is the easiest way this happens. So you have a blog on your website. Great to have a blog, sharing your knowledge and expertise, helping to educate people. And so that it's not boring with just a bunch of words, you put up a photo to go with that blog. And lo and behold, whoever's doing this for you just goes online and just does a search for whatever photo you're wanting and pulls it off and puts it on your blog. We've had multiple clients get hung up in this trap, including some of our law firm clients, which no judgment on my part, because, you know, we all practice different areas of law. So if you're a divorce attorney, there's no reason you would know this information. Just like I'm not going to go and handle my friend's divorce because I don't know anything about that. So all kinds of professionals, we all know what we know in our areas of expertise, but these are some areas where we kind of get trapped. So what happens? So you get this letter, it says cease and desist. You need to take down this photo on your blog. You're violating our copyright. We own this photograph if we didn't give you permission to use it. So what happens is with intellectual property, because it's not something you can feel and touch, there's special rules that go with that. And part of those special rules are some pretty significant damages. So you may have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars for the use of that photograph after you've already put it on your blog. Because what they'll do is they'll say, okay, you need to take this down and you might have to sign an agreement never to use it again. And if you don't do this by X date, you're going to owe us this money. Sometimes they'll just won't even give you a date. They'll just send you a legal bill and say, you need to cover not only our damages, but our legal fees. So now you're paying for their attorney to chase you down. And so it becomes problematic. And there's very little defense to these, because if you did indeed go out and just pull that photograph online and you just start using it without checking into the ownership or making sure that you have a license for it, then there's really no defense that you can put up, and you will be liable for that. Now, there have been some, I would say, scams, and I'm using that word harshly. So if you've ever gone online and you're looking for photographs to use, whether it's even in a PowerPoint presentation, you're going to a conference and you're speaking, or you've got social media you're putting on, or you want to do some sort of graphic for something, you go online and you search for that kind of graphic or photo, and all these like stock photos come up. You're looking through all the different websites and you're thinking, oh, well, I can use this one because it says free photos, free stock photos. And you follow that and you start scrolling through. Well, guess what? Not all of them are actually free. I've even had some scams where my clients have gone onto those free websites and have gotten a free photo. And they've also gotten a cease and desist. And it's unfortunate, but there are people out there who do this as a shakedown, as part of their business model. And so what I tell people is, it's always best to pay for a photo because you get a license. Okay, so you pay a few dollars for it. You get a license to use it, or you have a subscription to a photo supply company. Or if you do see the free ones, there is a little button that you can click and it will download the free copyright language. And you keep that and store it in your files. Whatever your marketing files are, you keep that and store it in your files. So if you ever do get a cease and desist, or somebody's trying to shake you down for several $1,000s, then you can pull that up and be like, no, I did get this off of a free website and here's the language for it. If you can't find that language, don't use that photograph, because that's where you will have no defense. So that's my spiel on copyrights. Just, FYI, boots on the ground, that's what I'm saying. So let's go over and talk about trademarks. So Erin's got a great point in that the trademark business has exploded. And it's partially due to technology. So back in the day when I was a baby attorney 20 years ago, it was not easy to file a trademark. As most governments are, it's not user-friendly. It's difficult to understand the application. So it was hard for people to file their own trademarks. Over the years, we have seen a huge explosion in online trademark services. So you go online, you search, hey, I want to do a trademark, and all these services pop up. And what those are is those are automated services. So people have built software that will interface with the government's website. So USPTO, it's the United States Patent and Trademark Office, USPTO, has their own website. And that's where you log in and you do all of your trademarking. It's all systemized that way on their end. Again, it's government based, so it's like almost like data entry, it's a little overwhelming. So people have come and they've built software, and the software then interfaces with the USPTO's website. And their software makes it super easy. Like, it's colorful, it's got great explanations, it walks you through step by step. But the problem is that it's oversimplified. And they're super, super cheap, like ridiculously cheap, but they don't advise you on how to do it. So you're just typing in your answers to their questions. And what happens is they then assemble this and send it to the USPTO. Well, because it's super cheap and because it's overly simplified, the USPTO has been overwhelmed with applications, like completely bombarded with these applications that are just crap applications that they just deny because they just don't meet the criteria. They don't make sense. And even if, I've had clients that have gotten through on those, like that have actually gotten through and gotten a trademark. And they come back to me and they're like, oh yeah, I've got this trademark. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, that trademark has nothing to do with your business. Why did you trademark in that class when you do this? Like the trademark is completely useless to you because you don't even do it. Not to mention the fact that now you've committed fraud by saying that you do that. So it's a little bit of a deceptive practice, I think. And it's really truly DIY. So you think you're getting like trademark help for people, but you got to know what you're doing to fill those things out correctly. So go back to Erin's slide where it said all of these applications now, all these people are getting trademarks. So that's part of the reason is because the system has been simplified and is very inexpensive. The other reason is that, we're just all online now. So let's talk a little bit about how trademarks work. And you're going to see why the online explosion has driven so many types of trademarks. And I'm going to show you which ones may or may not be good for you. So the first one is a common law trademark. And you see this little superscript T here. What that means. So anytime you see the superscript TM, it's a common law trademark. Usually, and that just means like whenever you start using the trademark, you immediately rights. So you put it on your sign, you put it on your business card, you're passing it around, you're doing business under this name, you instantly get rights. However, there is significant limitations to it. It's limited in time, so it only starts from when you start doing business, and it stops when you stop doing business. It's limited in area. So geographic scope means that you only get the protection where you do business. So here's the big online kicker, right? Because now if we're looking at geography, so if you do business all throughout the state of Florida, for example, and you have clients everywhere and you can prove that you have clients everywhere, then your common law trademark might be through Florida. But if you are in, say, Orlando, and you're just in the city of Orlando, that's where your trademark will just be the city of Orlando. Or maybe it's just a neighborhood within Orlando, then it would just cover the neighborhood within Orlando. So it only covers where you actually do business, which is problematic for people who are online because now it's like, how do you define your geographic area? Like online is not geography. So the law is now butting up with technology and we say, how does this fit together? And it becomes a proof issue. So how do you prove that you do business? You have a client in Denver and a client in New Orleans and a client in Jacksonville. What's your geographic area? And how do you protect that and how do you enforce that? So the common law trademark, while it does serve some good, it's not ideal. And it's very difficult to actually enforce your right with a common law trademark. And here's where probably Erin's seen some of this is that, and unfortunately I've had this happen too often too, is a client will come to me and like, hey, I got this cease and desist. I've got to stop using my business name. And I'm like, okay, let's take a look at this. In the meantime, they might be brick and mortar with huge expensive signs up front. They might have product packaging, or they might have services, or they might have websites, and like all this stuff costs a lot of money for businesses to set up. And now they're being told they can't use that name and they have to change it. That is usually where a common law trademark comes in, because if someone else has a higher level of trademark than you could get bumped off the field. So there's a timing issue here and a geography issue here that makes it difficult. The second level up, which is a state trademark. So every state has a system where you can register a state trademark. It is state by state, and it only applies within the geographic area of a state. And so if you have a Florida trademark, it only applies within the boundaries of Florida. Again, they use this TM superscript symbol. So sometimes if you see this TM, you don't know if somebody's got a state trademark or a common law trademark, but these are searchable on the state's websites, and you can go in and search trademark. You know, as a baby attorney, I did a lot of these 20 years ago. It's how I learned trademarking right off the bat, right out of law school. And, you know, nowadays I don't do any. I can't remember the last time I did a state trademark. And that's because even our professionals who, you know, maybe they're only licensed in Florida, maybe can only practice in Florida. It doesn't really matter if, you know, somebody else has the, you know, they don't need to expand basically. They still have issues because if someone else has a higher level trademark, again, that could bump them off the field and it may have to change. Or someone else in another state, they're concerned about taking their name, and now you have online conflict with websites and people search for your practice and they're finding a practice in Jacksonville, North Carolina. I mean, that might be a deterrent for people. They're like, oh, they're too hard to find. I must remember the name wrong or whatever it is, and they move on. So state trademarks, okay. It's an interesting dynamic right now with cannabis-related services and products because they cannot get federal trademarks. But I would say some of the products cannot get federal trademarks. It's gotten a little looser and it's probably loosening up, but that's where a lot of the state trademarks that is in that industry. The next level up is a federal trademark, and that's where you see the little R with the circle around it. So federal trademark is national. That's the one that I was telling you about with the USPTO. Once you get this trademark, it applies throughout the entire United States. So it is difficult to get. It does take a lot of time. It's 12 to 18 months through the process. And I will say that right now, it's the hardest I've ever seen to get through a trademark. And I'll talk a little bit more about the process, but just to kind of give you an idea. So it takes a while to prepare the application, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. So once you get the application prepared, you submit it online and you have to wait. It's usually like 8 to 12 months to even be assigned to an examining attorney. That's a trademark attorney who works for the government that reviews the application. Used to, if I filed 10 trademark applications, one, maybe two of those, they might come back to me and say, hey, I've got some questions here. Is this, can you give us more information about this? Or can you give us more information about that? Or, they're not at all being combative. They're just wanting to process it and they need more information. That was back in the day. I will tell you 100% of the time now, every single application I file that does not just go through without a question. So what's happening is, I don't have proof of this, but this is my own theory here, is that because of all these online, applications that are just, they don't know what they're doing, they have bad information. I think it's part of their process now is they question everything. Again, I don't have proof, but it's significantly more difficult to get an application through without having to submit additional information. I mean, I've even had to go to, what was that one? It was a occupational therapist. I had to give them and prove what the definition of an occupational therapist was in order to show that the services we were submitting actually is what my client was doing, which, is ridiculous if you think about it, but that's what they're doing now. They're coming back and they're asking for everything, all the documentation before they let that go to the next step. And, honestly, I don't blame them. Another thing they've done is, remember I told you about all those services that were connecting to the website, the government's website? They've now put up a firewall in front of that website. So not just anybody can go in and file something. You actually have to register and your identity has to be proven to get beyond that firewall. So as attorneys, we had to go through this, huge training to figure out how to to be taught by them how to get past this firewall. You know, and we had to have, you know, my paralegal had to have her own account. Like, it was just a lot of stuff. And I think it's because they're just getting so much of this automation just thrown at them. And they still have humans on their end that still have to process every single one of those applications. So by the time you wait 12 to 18 months, you don't want to get told like, oh, I'm sorry, your application's dead because you didn't give me the right information. Or somebody's coming back to you and like, hey, I need this, this, and this, you know, and you're like, well, what do I do? How do I respond to this? So the whole process is just a lot more difficult. And the fact that there's just a lot more businesses in the world, right? I mean, population continues to grow and grow and grow. So I think all of those things, you know, the numbers on Erin's slide have a huge impact on people now that are trying to get a trademark, and how the process has changed. It is still very, very important. And to Erin's point, the world is just becoming more global, which leads me to the last type of trademark, which is an international trademark. These are under a treaty that the US has signed with many countries. And once the process isn't like a separate application per se, it's you have to have a US federal trademark first, and then you can go under, it's called the Madrid Protocol, to establish a trademark rights in other countries. And so a lot of people, even small businesses now, are doing business internationally, and that's becoming a thing too. So having said all that, you know, what should you trademark? What should you even consider, you know, going through this, number one, big expense, big process. And, you know, at the end of the line, you want to make sure you get what you think you're getting that's actually going to help your business. Keep in mind that trademark law is actually on its head. So we think of it from a business's perspective of like, oh, it's to protect my business. It's to make sure that I get my name, that no one can use my name or no one can force me to stop using my name. That is a secondary benefit to trademark laws. They are not created to protect us as business owners. They are created to protect consumers. And the consumer can be confused if there's two businesses with the same name. So consumer thinks, I want this business, business A, but business B has such a similar name that the consumer is drawn to this business. And it's basically what the government considers to be fraud. So as a society, we have said that's not good behavior. Consumers need to be protected. And if they're going to be confused, then we're not going to prohibit that, because businesses can slide in and start taking off, you know, sliding off other businesses, clients, and customers. And so we've, as a society, said we're not going to accept that. So these are kind of fair.
I want to jump in and add that what we've seen in the marketing world is that this extend to domains. And like, you know, you think I can just buy it for $9 a year and no big deal. But actually, if someone has a trademark, you can be sued for owning it.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the questions I get a lot, Erin, is domains. Like they think that they, by buying the domain, that's their trademark. And in actuality, the domain is just an address. You don't even have the right to use it, even if you buy it, because someone else may have a trademark on that. That's right. And so, and that's a question I get a lot. So thank you for bringing that up. But what it is it's basically, you know, it helps businesses, yes, but it's all about the consumer. And, you know, if you buy a chocolate that has Dove on the front of it, you're not going to be confused that you're buying soap, right? A Dove soap. You're not going to go wash with chocolate, nor are you going to eat soap. So there's no problems with confusion. So what it really boils down to is, what does a business do? And what category can you get yourself into? So here's where you start. You say, you know, what should you trademark? Obviously, you can do your business name, you know, with its stylized colors, fonts, sizes, or you can just do a plain word mark for your business with no style to it. You can do a logo with your business name. It could be in color. You could do a logo with your business name that's black and white. Even though you use it in color, you could trademark it just as black and white, and that would apply to any color. You could do a logo without a business name. So there's no words on your logo. It's just a symbol, again, in color, or you can do that in black and white. So all of these options, are out there, and I think it's a very big strategy issue. You're obviously going to have all of these things in your business, but to trademark all of these things, you can imagine is going to be very expensive and time consuming. So it really starts with a strategy of what do you use most, what's out there the most. Obviously online is, typically out there the most. And then what would give you the best protection? And so I've had clients, small businesses that have done multiple of these, and then I've had small businesses that have just chosen one. And then over time, as they grow their business, they add it into their business plan that I'm going to get another trademark in another year and just keep building this. Now, obviously, the more trademarks you have, the more protected you end up being. And that can add value to your business should you ever want to sell it. So that's also a consideration. So here's what I was talking about chocolate and soap. These are the classes. There's 45 of them. I have summarized them. None of them have these nice little short titles to them. They all have really complex, even old-fashioned words on them because they've been around for a very long time. But the first two columns are all about goods, and the last column is about services. Now, this is how the government has decided to kind of divvy up how a business is classified. It's within each class that you can prevent other businesses from using your name. So that's how Dove Soap and Dove Chocolate can both have trademarks, is because they're in different classes. So how you categorize your business is very important. And that's kind of going back to the scenario I told you before, where I had a client, a new client, come to me and say, oh yeah, I've got this trademark. And they had done one of these online services and they put it in a class that was wrong. So yeah, they got a trademark in a class, but that's not the class they did business in. So it's very, very strategic, because a lot of times businesses can qualify in multiple classes. So for example, if you decide that, let's say, let's just take computer specific legal and medical beauty. So 42 and 44. If you qualify on both of those, but there's already a trademark in 42 that kind of similar to yours, you may strategically decide I'm only going to file in 44 because I have a better shot of getting in than I do for 42, and I don't want that part to be denied. Each class has a filing fee, so the more classes you file in, the more expensive it gets. But even within a class, I've been able to see where businesses can fit into a class together because the classes are actually fairly broad. And within each class, there's descriptions. So even if you're in medical, beauty, agriculture, medical and agriculture are totally different. So, you could get into the same class with a different description. So that's where these online services kind of do people a little bit of a disservice, is they don't really have the ability, because they've oversimplified it, they don't really have the ability to help you fit yourself within. And the more people, like Erin showed, like 2020, there's over 800,000 of these. There's even more now. The field is full. So you need to figure out where you can fit into the field before you try to go do that. And if you don't try to fit into the field and you just get your name and you just open shop and you hire Erin and she does all these great things for you and brings in all these clients, and then lo and behold, someone else was in that field and tells you have to stop. That's painful. So it is complicated, but it is worth doing, and that's just part of doing business.
Absolutely, Laurie. I think that the sooner you get your trademark, the better. And even if you didn't do it 10 years ago, absolutely do it now before you receive that letter in the mail.
Exactly. And so this is another question that I get that I want to make sure we understand, is what is the difference between a trademark and a fictitious name? So a DBA. So a DBA is something that you see a lot. It is a corporate notice. So in other words, like, let's just say your corporation or LLC, whatever has a name. And mine's going to be Erin and Laurie are great LLC. And Erin and Laurie are great LLC, but you know what? We don't want to do business as Erin and Laurie are great LLC. We want to do business as Marketing and Legal Rocks. So we have DBA Marketing and Legal Rocks. and that's on all of our signage. But marketing and legal rocks is not a trademark. The state of Florida will take as many DBAs as you want to file. As a matter of fact, if you go on Sunbiz right now and do a search for a fictitious name, you can see hundreds of the same name on their website because the state's not going to say no. The state will take every single fictitious name registration you give it, because all it does is it tags that fictitious name to the corporation or LLC. It says, oh, hey, really, this LLC is doing business under this name. So if you want to know what the LLC's name is, you type in the fictitious name and it tells you who it is. It's just a notice thing. It's not a trademark at all. So you get zero rights with fictitious names, and you can't rely on that. So that is one thing. And then before I jump into questions, which I think I saw some stuff popping up, we do have a trademarks 101 description. It has the stuff I put on my slides, but it's got a lot more in it too. If you'd like to download that, here's a QR code. And it looks like, Amanda, if you can drop the link in the chat for me on that too, you're welcome to use the QR code, or you can click on that link that Amanda just dropped in the chat. It's lengthy, it's in plain language, but it's a lot of information if that's helpful for you. So with that, I will go ahead and open the call to any questions. If you have questions, you can put them into the Q&A. Let's see, Amanda, did we have any questions that accidentally got put into the chat?
Callie asked, is a trademark different from an LLC? I'm an esthetician and just made an LLC for my small business.
Can you repeat that for me one more time?
Is a trademark different from an LLC? I'm an esthetician and just made an LLC for my business.
That's a good question. So yeah, a trademark is definitely different than an LLC's name. An LLC, when you file with the state of Florida, for example, the state of Florida will not accept two companies with the same name. And that's just because they need to know who you are. They can't have like confusion over identities. So the state won't let another LLC file, but that doesn't mean that somebody can't have your DBA. So somebody could like have a different name of their corporation and then just have the same name as your DBA and just do business under your name. I mean, there's nothing that stops people from doing that other than trademark. So, and trademarks can be all kinds of things too. Keep in mind, it can be the LLC's name, but it won't have LLC on the end, right? It won't have Inc., it won't have LLC, it won't have company, corp. It won't have any of those on the end. So a trademark can be the name of your business. It can be a fictitious name. It can be a name of your product or service. So think about like Burger King is the easiest example, like Whopper. That's not the name of the business, but they've got a trademark on Whopper. So if you've got service lines, if you've got a course that you teach, if you've got a tagline, it can be a tagline. So trademarks can be more than just a business name. So keep that in mind too. But yeah, it's totally different.
We've got some more questions. Callie also says, thank you for all the info. I created a business name, Fierce Skin by Callie. And on Instagram, I see someone with fierce skin. Is that a problem waiting to happen?
Yeah, it sounds like it. Because, if you think about Fierce Skin by Callie and you've got a customer that, is looking for you and they just type in fierce skin and it doesn't have by Callie on the end, is that similar enough for people to be confused? I mean, my opinion would be yes. I think it would. I don't think, you might have trouble, if they were to try to get a trademark over yours, I think they'd have a hard time doing that. Yeah.
So Angela Young, when owning an insurance agency, the carriers have their own trademarks. So I should trademark just my name, not service or product, ? Yeah,
so that's a good that's a good question. So franchises are also in the same boat, is that, you know, part of your business and part of what you do is sell something of another company. So you're selling either somebody else's products, or you're selling somebody else's services. And in your case, you're selling insurance policies that are someone else's services. And those insurance companies have trademarks on them. So you cannot use their trademarks, whether it's a franchise or insurance or whatever else, you cannot use their trademarks without their permission. But that's not your trademark. So you don't own those. You have no right to use those without their permission. So you would have your own separate. So insurance, if you had a name that could be trademarked, keep in mind that, you know, I'm just going to use this as an example, you know, trustee insurance, or, you know, or trustful insurance, like that's not something that can be trademarked, right? Because it's like regular English language, you know, it's like speedy check cashing, you know, those businesses that you see on the side of the road, speedy check cashing, like they can't trademark that because it's just regular English words, and you can't take those out of usage and not let other people use them. So it has to be something unusual, and you may or may not be able to trademark the word insurance. So you might have to disclaim that in your application.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I think all really good questions. You know, I'll leave you with this. So if you take a look at my logo on the screen, the Legal Department for Service Professionals, I'd love to take a poll, but I don't think I can do it in the time we have left. But like, if you think I could trademark that, let's analyze that. Could I trademark my firm's name? Now, if I just want to trademark the Legal Department for Service Professionals as a name, I cannot do that. My name is not able to be trademarked. Why? Because it's regular English words that are descriptive of what we do. However, what about my little logo, all of it together with the little clipboard and the pencil and the check marks and this for service professionals and script in blue? Can I trademark that whole thing? Yes, I can. I just have to disclaim the words in my application so I don't get flagged and rejected. So I can do the whole image, but I can't just do the words. So depending on the name of your business, you may or may not have something similar. Now, Fisher Agency probably could be trademarked.
It is trademarked. We have a national trademark.
Then there you go. I probably knew that and forgot it. So that is part of the difference, you know, and even with a name like Fisher, names you have to be a little bit careful with as well. So depending on how you use it, you can trademark names.
And I think it's so important because I lost a domain because there was, and it cost me $10,000 because there was another company with a similar name with just one letter difference. So I personally have felt this pain. And so I think our worlds need to come closer, the legal and the marketing side.
I agree 100%. I don't see any other questions. Do you, Erin?
No, I think that's everything.
Great. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking time out of your day and letting us pass along some of our knowledge. Stay tuned for more to come.